And we are live at Bold Radio Station. How is everybody doing? I'm super excited because it's finally sunny where I am. So we've got summer. So I'm really honored, thrilled to be able to connect and have a friend join me today, and I'm so happy to be able to call her friend because she's definitely added to my life. My name is Lynn Burnett, and I am the host of Find Your Groove, and today you are definitely going to find your groove because we are talking creativity. And you might be like I was a long time ago. My automatic response was, oh, I'm not creative. But that is not true. And we're going to jump into that, and we're going to jump into my guest and what she does. Rhonda Abdurahman, she is living proof that if you take time to refresh and recalibrate on a regular basis, you definitely avoid burnout and stress in life and in business. Because you know what? If you're in business, the two aren't separate. Life and business go together. And you're also going to be 100 times more productive. Rhonda is a coach. And her expertise is creativity. And I was so lucky to meet Rhonda at a workshop she was putting on in my city. And I thought, I'm going to go, because I'm always up for stuff like that. And I went and had a great time. And then next thing you know, she popped up at a local networking group that I belong to. So I got to know her better there. And it is just... I've just gotten a chance to know her better and better and better all the time. So let's not wait. Rhonda, hello.
Hello, good morning. So wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for taking the time, and it gives us a chance to chat again.
Exactly. It's been a while. It's so nice to hear your voice.
It has been a little while. Time has been going quickly, and it's so great to connect again. Always great to connect.
Yeah.
So creativity, this is great for me because this is something that, you know, the show's called Creativity as a Habit. And I think it is, and I think it is for me. And I think for some people it has to be. I think for some people it may come more naturally. But I really want people to learn that really the depths of creativity and really what it can do. And, you know, there's many definitions of creativity, and I was looking through definitions, and that's what I do when I prepare for a show. I look up the definition of words and different things like that. And I was reading a lot of different definitions, and I want to know what your definition is.
I love this. We're totally on the same page. So I do the same thing when I prepare for anything like this. And same, I was kind of in awe at the varieties, right? There's like the spectrum of definition. And the common thread, though, is imagination and original ideas. So I love that you said, you know, some people, yourself included, you know, had this feeling of I'm not creative, or some people have an idea they tie to the word creativity. So I mean, my definition of creativity is using your imagination for good. You know, that's the short version, because that's, I mean, to simplify it, that's what it is. When we actually, I'm going to back it up. The thing about creativity is that we need to stop. Like in today's world, everything is so fast.
Yeah.
And because we're so technology driven, I feel like we need to deliberately say, okay, I'm going to just stop for a moment. And when we do, absolute magic happens, because that's where space allows us to let these ideas flow in. You know, if we're constantly moving and constantly doing, we can't listen. We don't have the opportunity to let those ideas come. And that's where creativity is born. That's where creativity is nourished. And so, yeah, I think in its simplest form, my definition is, you know, imagination for good. And I think of it, yeah, it's like a heart and soul playground, you know, and we all have that. It's simply, do we want to listen to it? Do we want to exercise it? Like you say, it's a habit. So it's simply, yeah, will we consider doing it on a regular basis?
Yeah, you know, and I think why that was my automatic response. of, oh, I'm not creative is, I think, because it's been traditionally linked to art.
Yes.
I don't paint, I don't draw, I
Yes.
don't, I don't needlepoint, I don't. So I think that was my automatic, I'm not creative. But, I was having this conversation with a friend yesterday about creativity. And because she's a very creative soul herself in lots of different ways. And so I was telling her this, and she said, and I'm glad that is not my feeling anymore. That is, I know now to be true for me that I am creative in a different way. And because she had said, well, I challenge people when they say that to say, you created your life.
Mm-hmm.
You created the solutions to the problems that came to you. And that is such a great way to put it. And I thought, yes, that is the way that I'm creative.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So I love that you say that because exactly, it's not always painting and art and that kind of thing, but I think that's the stigma, if you will, that's attached
Yeah.
to it that people buy into and give a reason for I'm not creative.
Yes.
Um, but if you go back to childhood, just because most people can relate to that, think of how we played, whether it was on a swing or I don't know, I always use this example because I made little fairylands with the moss and the sticks and the whatever. And I mean, that's tangible and obvious that I was creating a little, city. But when you are running through the forest or you are, on a swing or I'm thinking of my boys right now because boys and girls can often play, differently. And that's all creative. Like no one told you to, run with your hands out touching all the leaves on the trees. That's creative. There's a sensory thing going on where you are reaching out and your imagination is flowing. And the other piece to that, I also believe, is that, creativity and imagination don't have to necessarily be tangible in the experience or what the end result is. So again, going back to art, because that's clear and understandable, we have this painting at the end. But again, using the example of running through the forest, so what happens after? What was that? What did I make? We go to that place too, and it doesn't have to be that. There doesn't have to be like a beginning and an end. It can be an experience and a moving of energy. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, because then that makes me think of life.
Yeah.
Because as you move through life, you're being creative.
Mm-hmm. Like
So
with your
that's beautiful. Yeah.
choices. Yeah.
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 So I was reading this quote about creativity, and the first line was, creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. And then the second line was, art is knowing which ones to keep.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So when you say that, what comes to me is, life is art. And it's sort of rolled together into life is creative, life is art, because like you said, it's the choices we make. Like we create the life we have
Mm-hmm.
simply
Yes.
by our choices. So I love what you just shared. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I had turned that around a few years back. And recently, we can default to certain beliefs about ourselves. And since I've gotten to know you and spend time with you, my perception of creativity in and of itself and how it relates to me has changed and opened more. So I love that.
Mm. So can you share an example or just what the switch is, what the difference is?
Well, just the different things that you can do, the different ways, just in speaking with you and how you use creativity in your life and your work. And when I went to see you, I think back in April, and you were speaking at a group about creativity and using it, that just I find, since I've known you, I have had the ability to just sit down more and be creative because, like you said, when we're kids, I mean, it's not an effort.
Mm-hmm.
Kids just ooze it. That's just who they are. And then along the way, we get it has to look good. And,
Yeah.
we're so concerned about how something looks. And then,
Yeah.
I'm not very good. I'm not an artist. But kids don't even think about that. So you've really given me the chance, and especially with your book. Rhonda
Mm-hmm.
has a great book called Life a la carte. That's it, right?
Yeah, Life a la carte, a playful pause to untangle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so you've got some great coloring pages in there and words and places to take notes. And so that has been a real gift to me to be able to use and not just me as a person but as for my business. I mean, it's been invaluable in my business. So I may not be someone who, you know, paints or draws or even colors regularly, but it definitely has allowed me to look at creativity differently because of you to be able to use it in my business and
oh,
my radio show.
that's wonderful. Well, thank you for mentioning the book. You know, what I would love to share about that is, you know, okay, double negative English teachers will freak out here, but the can't not, like, I I couldn't, it came to a point where this book had to come out in the world. And what I realized only after it was out was this was me sharing my process. So yes, it's a tangible creativity piece because there's coloring aspects and, like you said, writing prompts and whatnot. But it was me actually saying, this is one of my processes, a creative process that gets the juices flowing, that gets that energy moving. And, you know, that again is what I feel is creativity at its finest, is just that energy moving. It's getting the ideas flowing. And there's a big permission piece. Like when you were sharing about, you know, hearing me in April and ideas that maybe even others had, I think we get stuck in, it has to look a certain way, like you said, or it has to look good. And really, it's just permission to do whatever. Like, just do it. Do it,
Yeah.
move it, get it out, you know. And an example I use is, you know, my husband will sit down with me and will doodle or, you know, deliberately choose to do these things. But that's not his first way. Like his default for creativity is going kite surfing on the water. And some people might go, well, that's not creative. But oh, yes, it is, because he's got to read the wind. He's got to, you know, decide where to put his foot. And these are choices. And it's him using his imagination. Like, what's this going to look like? How am I going to be out here? And he loves it. And to me, that's, you know, that's his language. I think creativity is also a language, and everybody speaks a different one. Everybody experiences it in a different way, and it's meaningful to them. And that's the whole point, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, and to speak to the making it as a habit, and you said something about once you start, it gets the energy moving. That is so true because, you know, I find for me, if I sit down and I want to be, you know, just take that quiet time to be creative. And even when I take your book and I keep it, you know, handy, and I'll sit down and I'll pull out my pencil crayons or whatever, and I just want to write, I find that it's sometimes difficult at the beginning. You sort of sit there like, what should I do? And you get caught up in what color should I start with? And where should I start coloring? And, you know, it's that human element that stops us and when judging ourselves. And, but then the more you do it, the more that falls away and you just do. You just get in that place of just letting it flow and that allowing yourself to make mistakes. And there is no right or wrong.
Yes. Yes.
But it does get flowing. And I find that's for me. I can have a hard time at the beginning because I'm just a very logical type person. So for me, it requires a little extra letting go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. And my husband and I have these conversations because he's, you know, a little more, well, not a little more. If you had to pick one side or the other, he's more left, I'm more right-brained. And it's actually magic when that comes together. I believe we all have, you know, our left brain thing and our right brain thing. But just like you said, you know, sometimes we get in that mindset of, I need to know, I just want to, you know, a rule, like number 1, pick this color. Number 2, you know, kind of go through your checklist. When really it's just this open space of, what's going to happen next? Like anything goes. So it's, you know, part permission, part openness to whatever. And Julia Cameron and Elizabeth Gilbert, you know, they talk about the habit of writing, for example. And even when they don't know, even when they're stuck and they don't know what the next thing is, they just put pen to paper because they're committed to seeing. And specifically to writing, I wouldn't maybe consider myself a newer writer, but with writing specifically, if I do sit down and dedicate myself to one little project, even if I don't know what is going to come out or I feel extremely stuck that day, just by virtue of being committed, sitting down, having the pen and paper, it's amazing what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the first thing that comes out on paper is, I don't know what to write. And then something else comes out. And like you said, then it flows.
Yeah. You know what I find works well for me is looking up definitions, synonyms,
Yeah.
things like that. So it's different for everybody. So when you work with people, creativity is you use tools, different types of tools. And I know every time I think of you, I think of Rhonda, which is a play for those listening that don't know. Is kind of a little bit of a inside joke with Play-Doh. So we've just kind of worked it into Rhonda's name and call it Rondo. But you use different tools with people when you coach with them and help them. So it's a little bit different than the tools that I use, say, where I have certain questions or exercises or things like that. You have, and you do that as well, but you have these different creativity tools.
Yeah.
So what are some examples of what you do with clients?
Yeah, well, just to even go a little bit deeper into the Play-Doh theme, I think as a child, I was one of those kids that couldn't sit still. I was a little jumping bean. And again, not everyone's like that who is quote unquote, naturally creative or however you want to think of it. But some of the tools that I use are getting people out of their heads, because I find that's one of the top ways that we do get stuck, or one of the top ways that we become so rigid, or have to, or what are the rules and that kind of thing. And so to release that and shake it off, I want to get people more into their hearts and more into a playful place. And so one of the ways I do that is with body things, such as squeezing Play-Doh or playing with it, doing something like that, or crazy body movements. I did this with a woman recently, and it's kind of funny because you feel awkward at first, which is great because that means new stuff is happening. And so we couldn't use words. It was more of a gibberish language, but it was explaining what just happened before we met each other. And so I had a particularly busy day, and I was concerned about being late. And so we were standing in front of each other, and it gets quite animated. So it's like, and you're putting your hands out here and trying to explain that, the traffic was really busy or whatever. And it looks kind of weird. Like I said, you might feel kind of funny, but by the end of it, you're like, oh, I feel so much better. Even though I didn't speak English, I told you what just happened in a different way. And now it totally opens up for, other stuff. Mm-hmm. So just more body centered, getting out of your head type tools. And then there are the tangible things. Like I really do like writing prompts, because I think that we forget to be grateful for what we already have. Mm-hmm. So it might feel like I'm kind of going sideways here, but I think that one of the opposites of creativity is stuckness. We decide we don't know, or we don't want to explore. And that is because we can get stuck in our heads. So simply asking a question, like you say you do, but it can be like, what are you grateful for right now? Because I think gratitude, we oversimplify it and we forget how powerful it is. Yes. Another writer woman that I know, actually, I just read one of her writing prompts the other day, and it was, what do you want that you already have? And I thought, wow, I really like that question.
Oh.
Yeah,
what do you want that you already have? Whoa.
Yeah. I know, I really like that too.
That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is like a bonk you on the head kind of question.
Exactly.
Whoa, I gotta write that down.
I know. I actually wrote it down too, and I thought, I want to sit with this. This is going to be some juicy homework, Yeah.
Oh, I'm writing this
down.
Okay,
let's both do it later on, and then let's check in with each other.
Oh. Wow. That's a smack you in the face kind of question. That's a reset question.
Yeah, reset. I love that word.
That's great. Yeah, let's do that.
Hmm.
I challenge everybody that's listening to do that. What do you want that you already have? That's powerful. And
Hmm.
that's what coaching can do. That's what coaching does. It's powerful. I love
Hmm.
that. So what did creativity do for you? Because I know I'm privy to like your backstory and what led up to using creativity in your life. What was the tipping point to leading you to where you are now, or beginning the journey of leading to where you are now and using creativity in your life? What
Hmm.
was that tipping point, that moment? Where were you in life?
Yeah, thank you. That I love that question. It's my hands on my heart right now. I really appreciate that. And well, Lynn, you know me, there's not just one answer. So
Yeah.
when you say what was the tipping point, there were actually several. And life is so good. There's so many teachers in our lives and so much magic if we choose to see it, right? Don't I know you feel the same way.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to give you the first answer. So again, many tipping points, but one that was really pivotal for me, and I think it's because so I have four kids, and say 10 years ago, life was busier in a different way. Life is always busy, but it shifts to what busy means, I think, at that time. And I think a lot of people can relate to the hustle and bustle of chasing kids around, making lunches, sports practices, blah, blah, blah. And I was so in the thick of it that I think I was more in survival mode than thrival mode, just personally. Like it's not good or bad. It's simply that I was always giving so much to others rather than myself. And I don't. I think it was just when you're ready to listen or when you're ready, the teacher appears kind of thing. And I got to a point where wow, I have the capacity for so much more. Like, I love this, but there's just more in me. And I didn't even know what that was or what it looked like. And so I started seeking. I started asking questions, started doing, more journaling, more like all the stuff we just talked about. And then answers started to come. And I was reading a paper, which seems so old fashioned, but I do love to touch paper. And I was reading this newspaper and there's an ad in there for, what's it called? Tryouts. Gosh, the word's escaping me. Where
Audition.
you audition, thank you. Where you yeah, and there was an audition and I thought, oh, like it scared me and excited me equally and I knew it was right. Like when that happens, you just gotta go for it.
Yeah.
And my husband encouraged me and whatnot. So the short version is I had auditioned, got one of the lead roles, and it was like suddenly things amped up to the next level. So it was really an exciting time because it was all about me and the new changes that were happening for me and evolving in life. And I was answering them and I was giving them attention. And so, yeah, so my encouragement there for people would be, when those whispers come in and they don't go away, listen, because that's the universe speaking to you.
Mm.
I think
Yes.
that if we don't listen, then we can either stay in survival mode or we can even get sick because there's aspects of ourselves that are unexpressed. They're not shared with the world. And that's sad because we are all creative. We all have these exceptional pieces of ourselves that the world needs. And when we share that, it's to me, it's the perfect balance. It's what life is about, sharing that and connecting to people because of that. And then you're enhancing their lives. And it's this huge ripple effect of goodness.
It is. I agree.
Hmm.
And I like that you said you just started looking, it made me think of that phrase, seek and you shall find.
Hmm.
And I've found that true for myself too. Once you just start asking the questions and you just start looking, inquiring, being curious, all of a sudden things start coming at you. And I
Hmm.
think we, as people, it's just natural human behavior. We want to know the hows of stuff. And it's hard to let go of the how and just start looking and just see what comes.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just start looking.
Yes.
That's all you need to do, just start seeking. I think
Yes.
that's important.
I agree, and I think that a huge dash of trust put in there is also helpful because I know that for myself, I was ready at certain times in my life, but I thought, oh, that seems weird. That's not maybe a traditional way of things showing up, you know. So it was so unusual. I didn't trust it and I let it go, but then it came back in another way. And so I think when we also trust, even more magic can happen. There's a woman, have you heard of this book called Ingenious by Tina Seelig?
No.
It's a really cool book. She's a professor at Stanford, and this book talks about creativity. And actually, when I was reviewing some of the stuff, I found another book she wrote that I haven't read that I'm going to now, and it's called What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20, which sounds so cool to me. But there's a quote from it, and she says, all the cool stuff happens when you do things that are not the automatic next step. And I love that because yeah, like if we, like you said before, if we think we have to know, like if we think we have to have all the answers, it's so limiting. And it gets us to that stuck place. But if we can just be open and go, okay, I'm ready for whatever, then more whatever comes, right? Because it could be unusual, or it could be, just not what we expect. So we have to be open and trust all that. And it makes it more exciting too.
Mm-hmm. So what do you suggest for people that want to develop the creativity habit? What are some simple things that they do? Because really, all things are really simple. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what can people start doing now, today?
Good question. So, we'd already mentioned a few before, like literally putting paper to pen with no expectation. And you can do a brain dump, like, okay, I'm sitting here, my chair is uncomfortable or comfortable, whatever, My big thing is, number one, dedicate time. If you want to try it, then you have to dedicate the time. And whether that's literally 5 minutes before your coffee, so that, you're a morning coffee person, you can't have your coffee until you do this 5 minutes or whatever. That's one, random example. But something even smaller and easier than writing for 5 minutes or writing or a tangible do thing is like, you know what, instead of a pen, use a marker for whatever. Have breakfast for dinner. Invite a complete stranger out for coffee. Do odd things you would not normally do. That is a creativity habit. And I challenge myself to do that too, because the more we expand that and the more we try new things, that it's a muscle, and we're developing it and we're strengthening it. And so just try something different. Those are just
buy some Play-Doh for yourself.
Yes, Play-Doh. That's a good one too.
I love Play-Doh. I liked that with my son when he was little. That I find it does get you going. So buy yourself some Play-Doh.
Yeah, basically get moving. What you're saying and what's coming to me is get moving, however that is, It could be trying a new sport too, so anything, but I believe it's an energetic movement.
It is, yeah. Using the imagination. I love the imagination. It's just, we've just cut the legs off of imagination as we've gotten older with all the expectations that are out there on us.
It's true. I love how you said that. It is true, because we get so stuck in our way of thinking that it has to be this or it has to be that, and it just doesn't. Here's another thing too, and this is because we are so technology driven. I always refer people back to nature. So even if you are a person who doesn't want to go for a walk, or you say, I don't have time, well then, go, I say, sniff a tree, or go touch a leaf, or, just something that is totally the opposite of technology. And for goodness sake, do it without your phone in your hand. You know what I'm saying?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like put the phone down and go in nature for even a minute. And again, no agenda, just see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now you can work with people either in person or distance, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be in person. So you can work with people on the phone, through Skype, whatever.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And your books, Life a la carte, they can get that through your website, right?
They can, yes, or on Amazon.
Perfect. So Rhonda's website is loveyourgenius.com. Go there. You can connect with Rhonda there. And she's got a Facebook page, which just go to facebook.com/loveyourgenius, or just search for Love Your Genius. But you can find out all of the information. Now, you're also going to be speaking in an upcoming event in September, a Frockalicious event. So let me just fill us in quickly on what that is.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, Calgary, September 8th and 9th, a live event where I will be sharing some of these fun and quirky little tools for about an hour. You get to hang out with me and other speakers for the 2 days. And it's the idea is, you want something different, so then try something different. And it's love, life, and business. So, a bunch of speakers and cool activity and workshop style throughout the 2 days. It's going to be fun.
And this isn't a one-time event for those of you listening. You can Google Frockalicious events. They have them in different places and at different times throughout the year. So you're going to be fabulous. They're so lucky to have you. And I wish I could be there because I know that it'll be a good time. And I like the fact that it's, life and business, because we don't separate the two, especially for small business owners, entrepreneurs like you and I. They're not separate.
I totally agree. That's right.
Not separate. So that's great. They're going to have so much fun. So again, loveyourgenius.com. You can connect with Rhonda there if you have any questions. Do follow her on Facebook if you happen to hang out on Facebook at Love Your Genius. And thank you so much. I have one last thing.
Yes.
Finish this sentence for me, please.
Ooh.
Rhonda Abdurahman is...
Ooh, Rhonda Abdurahman is a creative force full of love.
And you are, my dear.
This is so fun, Lynn. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And this has flown by, and I loved it. And I know that you've made a difference for somebody. I know that you did for me. And so glad we can connect here and help other people and serve. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I'm blowing you a kiss, and I totally appreciate your time and energy. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks, Rhonda. And again, everybody, do connect with Rhonda. Visit her website at loveyourgenius.com and her Facebook page. I challenge you, everybody, to, sit down, take a moment, schedule the time, because let me tell you, I did not think that I was creative, but it has really become a big part of my life and my business. So, take the time, start small. Don't think that it has to look a certain way. Just sit down and it'll flow. Just be willing, just be open, and just trust it.
Yes.
So thank you again, and thank you for listening. If you want more information about Bold Radio Station, you can visit us at boldradiostation.com. Find out all the fabulous shows and meet the hosts that we have. We always want to bring you quality programming, and you can find us on Facebook too at Bold Radio Station. Thank you again to my guest, and I will catch you next time. Have a fabulous Friday and a great sunny weekend wherever you are. Thank you for taking the time. Bye for now.